Hi everybody, Jason here with another Barry Season 4 review. Today I'll be talking about episode 4 titled It Takes a Psycho. But before I get started, I will be talking some spoilers, so if you haven't seen the episode yet, you don't want it spoiled for you, stop the video, head over to HBO Max, check it out, and come on back and we can talk about it. And I highly recommend that you watch the episode before you watch this video because it is a doozy. But now that we're past all that, let's go ahead and get started. This is probably the most intense half hour of television I've seen in a long time. There's just so much going on in this episode. I've been trying to rack my brain about how to talk about everything, so I don't really think I'm going to talk about everything. I think the main thing I'm going to talk about, of course, is the NoHo Hank thread that runs through this story, because it's the best avenue that I can think of. I will probably touch on a couple of those things, but for the most part, I think I'm going to talk about that one because it's really the centerpiece of the episode. Now, the fact that Barry isn't in this episode really does add to the tension, because after he escaped from last week's failed assassination attempt, tensions are running really high, everybody's on high alert, and it really does help with this build because there's a lot of stuff going on in this episode. And just the fact that everybody's waiting to see what Barry's going to do next just makes things even more and more intense. Of course, as I had mentioned, the biggest set piece in this episode is what's going on with NoHo Hank, who, after receiving a threat from Batir in the last episode and confronting Barry about talking to the FBI and finding out that Barry has escaped, he's trying to figure out what to do next, and that is to act out of fear. He's fortifying his position. And some of the choices that he's making they're really heartbreaking and really tragic, especially when it comes to Cristobal. I mean, the fact that he decides to turn on his partners by using the silo as sort of a trap for them, and then, of course, inadvertently getting Cristobal stuck in the middle of it, was bad enough. Then, of course, he goes on to side with the Chechens, and Cristobal really isn't happy about it. And they have this big fight, and it's really uncomfortable to watch. Really, everything with the sand trap and everything going on with Cristobal and NoHo Hank is uncomfortable to watch. But it's also some of the best work that they've done on this show. I mean, the drama, the tension, you know what's coming, and you really hope that it doesn't go that way. And of course, ultimately, when it does, it's even more heartbreaking. And that, for me, is when this show is at its strongest, when it keeps you at the edge of your seat. You start to see where they're going. You hope it doesn't go there. And then when it does, you kind of realize that's where it had to go. There's just really so much to talk about. I mean, from the fact that Kusanao inadvertently shoots his own son, to Fuchs being interrogated nonstop by the warden and the prison guards, to Jim Moss looking around for Barry, doing a better job at it than the police. And finally, of course, Sally, who's trying to help her acting student with her role in this mega superhero film, then trying to upstage her, ultimately to realize that it's all for naught because she's never going to get what she wants in this business. And when she finds out, after the entire episode of not knowing that Barry has escaped, finding out, of course, that he has escaped, she realizes the only thing she wants at this point is comfort and safety, and that's what Barry can provide in his own twisted way. And of course, we get that final scene with this kid, John, who is apparently the child of Barry and Sally. Now, the thing that I thought was interesting about this scene was it takes place in the middle of a desert. And it kind of reminds me of all those dream sequences that Barry's been having. So it's leaving me to question whether this is a dream sequence or whether this is reality. The tip-off that it might be a realistic time jump is the fact that in most of Barry's fantasies, everything is kind of sing-songy and really happy. It's very unrealistic, but just the fact that the refrigerator, there's only a donut, some cans of beer, and some bottles of wine, and the fact that Sally is just very unkempt, as in she just is given up, kind of tells me this is more realistic than his fantasy, so it could actually be real, but we don't know. We'll find out, of course, in next week's episode. But I thought this was a really, really good episode. I mean, it just kept building. There was so much going on. I couldn't figure out how to talk about it all, so I just kind of broke it down into its basic points. And we'll see the ramifications of what happens in this episode moving into the final 4 episodes of the series. All in all, I'm going to give this episode a 5 out of 5. I thought it was just amazing. But that's just my opinion. Let me know what you thought of Barry Season 4, Episode 4, It Takes a Psycho, down in the comments. Do you agree? Do you disagree? I want to hear from you. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to click the like button. If you want to see more videos, don't forget to subscribe. Click that notification bell so you can get updates on all my future videos. You can also follow my social media pages. Links are down in the description of this video. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.